This is the Louie Tee Network.
I'm ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Overtime! So we head to overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your me, Louie Tee? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Second week in a row, another tragic ass whooping taking place. This time the road team got spanked in their own crib as the Atlanta Falcons run their record to 6-3 on the season and take a commanding lead in the AFC South with a dominant performance over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Game was still going on at the time and start of this video. It was 40-14. I didn't need to see any more. So you know how this goes when we get ass whoopings. I'll tell you about that here in a second. But first, welcome to the Louie Tee Network. Subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content if you haven't already done so. In 2016 and beyond, we're going to change the game with this content, man, and we're looking forward to doing that. And I need you to hit that subscribe button in order to help me do that. So we're going to break down this game here in a second, but also I'm on Twitter. In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. You want to know when I'm going live. You want to know when I'm jumping on doing a video. You want to chop it up with your man Louie Tee? Follow me on Twitter in the Lab Room. Also, I'm on Facebook, and I'm looking to change the game there as well. Facebook going to be a huge contributor to this channel in the future. Facebook Live is something that is really hot right now, and I'm looking to tap into that. So get ahead of the curve. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead, give me the thumbs up there. I just want to get this out of the way quick. I'm not going to waste a lot of your time here tonight. This game was competitive in the first half, and the Falcons essentially went Rambo and destroyed and cut those boys up in the second half. Matt Ryan went bananas. The defense got some stops, and the offense did the rest. And so the Buccaneers had a ton of penalties tonight. We'll talk about all those things. And you know how I do this when it's an ass whooping taking place. I don't break it down likes, dislikes, banana and tailpipe, generally speaking. I do have that for the first half, so I'll give it to you because it was a competitive game in the first half. But I'm going to sway away from that as we get to the second half. This game got out of hand, and we really don't need to go over that. But I will tell you some things that I saw in the first half. But normally, when it's an ass whooping like this, it's what I saw from afar. So I'm going to give you what I saw from afar in this football game. And we really don't need to leave the home screen. Like I said last week when the Jaguars took one on the chin from the Tennessee Titans, no need to leave the home screen. We're going to make this as quick, painless as possible for the Buccaneers fans out there. Falcons fans, enjoy, celebrate. Your team now is 6-3 and has a crushing death grip hold on this NFC South division. 3 games up on the nearest team after this win. Likes, dislikes, banana tailpipe for the first half. That's all I'm going to give you because I stopped taking notes in the second half. There was no need to take notes in the second half. Let's start with the Falcons, the road team here. A response to the Bucs opening touchdown drive. Bucs march it down in 13 plays, 75 yards, eat up 5 minutes of the first quarter clock, get a touchdown, and the Falcons come right back 2 minutes later, and boom, they're in the end zone. They made it look nice and easy. Levine Toilolo, nice touchdown catch there. Huge third down conversion. Matt Ryan checking it down to D free, and he did the rest on that check down. That was a huge play on that drive. They ended up getting in the end zone. Devondre Campbell with a huge hit on running back Anton Smith, forces a fumble. Falcons recover at the 14-yard line. They would only get a field goal out of that, but still big play in the game at that time. Desmond Trufant also forces a fumble later on in the first half. Jameis Winston trying to get first down on a quarterback sneak on a third down, and Trufant, it was a great play by the defense. Great play by Adrian Claiborne to have Jameis Winston by the ankles, hold him up long enough so that the help could arrive. Then here comes Desmond Trufant popping the ball free, recovered by Paul Warrilow, leads to another Falcons field goal. A little controversy on that field goal a little bit later on. We'll talk about that. But those were the likes in the first half for the Falcons as they were able to put up some points, 20 to be exact, in the first half as they had a 20-14 lead at the halftime break. You look at the first half likes for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Opening drive, 13 plays, 75 yards. They march it down the field. Great opening drive. Finds Mikey in the back of the end zone. Does Jameis Winston on a rollout. Hits him in the back of the end zone. Gives them the 7-0 lead. Holding the Falcons to a field goal on a sudden change that's one of those situations where your offense gives it up. And as a defense, you got to come on the field and find a way to get a win. And a win may not be forcing a turnover. It may be just forcing a field goal. Offense gives it up at your 14-yard line. You only got 14 yards to defend. Way to go out there and hold them to a field goal. They actually did that twice in this game, holding the Falcons to field goal attempts, which kept this game relatively close. Actually gave the Buccaneers a chance to take the lead, and they did at 14-13 at one point in the first half. Gerald McCoy forces a fumble of Matt Ryan. This was a big play at the time in the first half, as he's able to force that fumble of Matt Ryan, getting in there and getting the sack, getting the fumble, and the Buccaneers would turn that into another touchdown. And so, boom, just like that, after trailing by 6 at 13-7, they're now ahead 14-13 after that forced turnover and the subsequent touchdown by the offense. Mikey is another like in the first half, had 2 touchdowns, including a nice Moss job over cornerback Robert Alford. And there's nothing you can do when a guy's 6'5" and you're 5'11", 6 feet at best. I think Alford looks more along the lines of 5'10", 5'11". There's nothing you can do when a guy has 6 to 7, maybe even 8 inches of height over you. And all he did was just stand up tall and catch the football. That's what you're supposed to do to a young boy. Get out of here, man. Sit down. You don't know what to do with that. And so the Bucs took the lead briefly with that touchdown. They would relinquish it later on in the first half and trailed 20-14 at the halftime break. You go to the dislikes in the first half. We go back to the Falcons settling for a field goal after forcing a fumble and getting the ball at the 14-yard line. This is an explosive Falcons offense. You expect them to go and get a touchdown after that. They didn't. That was a little disappointing. Touchdown dropped by tight end Joshua Perkins, a rookie out of Washington, undrafted, getting an opportunity because of the injury to Jacob Tamme. Wasn't able to come down with the football. I thought he did too much. Tried to catch it, jumping. He just kept running and stretched his arms out like this. I thought he could have caught the football. I thought he did too much. Dropped the football. They didn't get the touchdown there. They had to end up settling for a field goal. And Matt Ryan fumbling, forced fumble by Gerald McCoy. That turned into a Tampa Bay Buccaneers touchdown on a couple plays later. So that was a costly fumble at your own 19-yard line. Also, Desmond Trufant goes down to a shoulder injury in the first half, did not return in this game. Hopefully that is not a serious injury because he is the best corner that they have. I will say this. I saw Jalen Collins on the field tonight in relief of Desmond Trufant, and I thought he actually looked good. So good to see the young fella getting out there, making some plays, had a knockaway on a third down that got the Falcons defense off the field. So good to see Jalen Collins out there doing some good things. Also, Buccaneers first half dislikes. Antoine Smith with the fumble leads to a field goal by the Falcons. It was a bad exchange. Claiborne, who has been tearing it up the last couple of weeks, blows up the play as the quarterback, James Winston, is trying to exchange that football on the handoff to Antoine Smith. It's kind of sloppy, and he's kind of bumbling, stumbling around, and he runs into Devontae Campbell, who blasts him and knocks the football out. That led to a field goal for the Falcons. Then you get another fumble, this time by Jameis Winston on a quarterback sneak again. Great defense and pressure by the Falcons there to force him backwards. Adrian Claiborne then grabs onto the ankle, which causes Winston to stumble. Then in comes Desmond Trufant with the forced fumble and the recovery by Paul Warlow. That would turn into a field goal as well. And here's the controversy there. You have a situation where it's 3rd and 7, and the Buccaneers don't convert, or the Falcons don't convert on 3rd and 7. They have to settle for a 41-yard field goal, except there's a face mask penalty on Andy Levitre that will push them back out of field goal range from a 41 to a 56-yard field goal. Now, Matt Bryant might still be able to knock that home, but I take my chances with that. Of course, with that penalty acceptance would come an extra down. 3rd down would be repeated, but it'd be 3rd and 22. You don't expect the Atlanta Falcons to pick that up, but Dirk Cutter decides to decline. There had been some open receivers down the field, some busted coverages. I don't care. You take that penalty. You allow your defense to go out there and see if you can't get a stop and force a punt. I told you, there's something missing with Dirk Cutter. I don't trust him as a head coach. I thought that was one of those plays where you look at him and you say, hey, man, are you sure you know what you're doing? Are you sure? Are you positive you know what you're doing? Is this the right job for you? Are you really an offensive coordinator or a head coach? I'm not sure. And this was one of those calls where I'm looking at him out the side of my eyes like, I don't know if this dude know what he's doing for real. I told you I can't quite put my finger on Dirk Cutter, but I think he's missing something as a head coach. Then penalties for me. Big issue in this game. The Buccaneers, every time they would do something right, a good run by Antoine Smith, penalty. A good catch by Mike Evans, penalty. It seemed like every time they had some momentum going, they had a penalty in this game. A nice little wide receiver screen to Humphries. Penalty. Offensive pass interference on Mike Evans. They just couldn't get out of their own way tonight. You get a nice little run. Ali Marpet. Holding penalty. They just could not get out of their own way. Too many mistakes on this night to win a game against a very good Atlanta Falcons team that can score a ton of points. You want to win, you got to eliminate the self-inflicting wounds. And you had turnovers with the 2 fumbles. You had penalties. You can't win like that. Not against some of the best competition that conference has to offer. And Joe Hawley leaves the game with the left knee injury, did not return. Hopefully that is not a significant injury. So those are my likes, dislikes, and no banana in the tailpipe. The better team won this game, and they won it convincingly, and it didn't surprise me. I went into the game with a little bit of questions as to what the Falcons would do because they've lost to this Buccaneers team now 3 times in a row. That's going to be snapped tonight when that final whistle goes off, and they're going to go ahead and go to 6-3 in the season. Bucs are going to drop to 3-5. I'm going to jump into your comments now because I'm trying to make this as fast a broadcast as possible. Sean Hawk says, thought the game would have been closer. It was close in the first half. Things got away from the Buccaneers in the second half. And it doesn't surprise me because the Falcons can score with the best of them, and the Buccaneers have had trouble scoring points. Saw it last week. Oakland gives them the opportunity to win that game. 23 penalties for over 200 yards in that game, and they only muster 17 points in that game. They have been struggling to score points this season. Vincent Cole says, Matty Ice MVP. Right now, he's my leading candidate. I think Derek Carr is making a strong case for it as well. Those are my 2 guys right now, but I know a lot of people want to throw Brady in there. Knock yourself out. If you want to throw Tom Brady in the discussion, by all means, go right ahead. But right now, for me, 2-man race, Derek Carr, the 4 Carr out in Oakland, and Matty Ice in Atlanta. Boss Holic says, you ain't fooling around, Louie. The game wasn't even over, LOL. I don't need to stay around when the game's 14-40 in the 4th quarter, okay? When a team puts a 40 burger on you and there's still 8 minutes left in the game, I'm done. I don't need to see any more. Captain Spartan 04 says, my first loss, didn't know Rodgers was hurt. Did that matter? I don't know if that matters tonight or not. Abraham Lopez says, Neil, damn, can that boy hit? NFC South better be prepared for this young defense. They're looking like they're making strides. I told you, it's going to take time. They're going to build. If they can stay healthy, they've got a lot of young parts. I really like Brian Poole a lot as well. So this is a really young nucleus that they're trying to have mesh and grow together. And if you throw Jalen Collins in the mix and he starts to play some good football, you can add another good, young, talented football player to that mix. So I'm telling you right now, the Falcons are coming along. They still got some things they got to work out, but they're coming along slowly but surely. Hopefully that injury to Desmond Trufant, your best corner, isn't a serious one. We'll see what happens later on with that injury. Captain Spartan 04 says, Daryl Smith for the Buccaneers, didn't hear his name tonight. Neither did I. Don't know if he played or not. Doesn't really matter. Again, don't think Daryl Smith was going to make much of a difference in this football game. So Andrew Kim says, pick the Falcons because I thought they would played really well in their recent games. Didn't think they would play down to the Bucs. Too good for that. They are legit. I told you they were a legit football team. I expected them to take care of business here. They did. I didn't expect it to get out of hand until maybe later on in the game. It kind of got out of hand in that 3rd quarter, but make no mistake about it. They're the best team in that division and one of the best teams in the NFC conference as a whole, one of the best teams in the league for that matter. So I expected them to win this football game. If they were serious, they needed to win this game, and they needed to win it convincingly, and that's what they did. Mind Draw says this game was a party of big and amazing catches. That was a hell of a catch by Mikey on the sidelines. Julio with a great catch in the end zone. And it's just a number of big receivers putting their nut sack on these small corners' helmets, man. Get that ball juice and ball fragment off the helmet. You got Julio Mawson on a 5'9", 5'10", Vernon Hargraves III. You got Mikey putting his nut sack on the helmet of a smaller defender and Robert Alford. It was that kind of night. You got small corners. We got big receivers. Come get some. And these quarterbacks were putting it up there and allowing their big receivers to go get the football. Sean Lopez says, well, I don't know where to start with the Bucs team. There's a lot of problems. There's a number of problems. I think you need to start with your head coach. I'm not sure he's the right guy for the job. I don't know. I don't want to jump to conclusions. First-year head coach. I'm not a big proponent of busting up continuity that soon, but there are a number of issues with this Buccaneers team, make no mistake about it. Right now, the first things first, you got a ton of injuries to some guys that could help you starting at the running back position. But again, That's no excuse for what we've seen from this Bucs team this season with the mistakes on offense and the defense not being able to stop teams consistently. Eagle Speed is a nerd says, would you believe me more if the Falcons choke away the season or the Falcons go to the end? I would believe you more if they went to the NFC Championship. I told you guys about 3 or 4 weeks ago, this team feels more like the 2012 Atlanta Falcons team that went to the NFC Championship game and should have went to the Super Bowl, but blew a big lead to the San Francisco 49ers, and less like the team last year that started out 5-0, 6-1, and then blew that lead and allowed the Carolina Panthers to come back and win that division. Or I shouldn't say come back and win the division. The Panthers were 14-0 before they lost their first game. But you get what I'm saying. Captain Spartan 04 says, geez, I do see now what people say when Mike Evans needs help. I was thinking it can't be that bad. I was wrong by a lot. I told you last week this man needs help desperately. There is nothing else out there for Jameis Winston. I actually like Cameron Brate, the tight end. And I think the other guys are solid, but they're not number 2 receivers. Adam Humphries, not a number 2 receiver. Neither is Shepard. Those guys are 3 and 4 options. You need a number 2 receiver out there, and they'll be just fine on the offensive side of football if they can stay healthy at the running back position. Andrew Kim says, what is your evaluation for Cutter as a head coach first half of the season? Has it been the execution by the players or a problem? Or lack of talent position-wise, or is it Cutter? I told you, I don't know. I can't put my finger on Dirk Cutter yet. I don't want to jump to conclusion. I don't want to say that he's the problem and he needs to go. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not an impulsive person when it comes to these types of things. I want to see how this plays out. But right now, I feel like there's something missing with him. But I will tell you this. Right now, they're lacking execution on both sides of the football. And that's a player issue, not a coach issue. The players on the field need to go out and execute. They're not doing that right now. I refuse to put that on Dirk Cutter, but I'm telling you right now, there's something missing there, whether it's motivation or lack of execution from the coaching staff, which then it trickles down to the players. Something's missing with Dirk Cutter, and you saw it tonight with that decision to decline a face mask penalty on 3rd and 7, which allowed the Atlanta Falcons to attempt a 41-yard field goal, which Matt Bryant knocked home, he's another one of these kickers where he's damn near automatic. Love me some Matt Bryant. Abraham Lopez says, how good can this Falcons defense really get, Lou, looking into the future? I think they can be a really formidable defense. I don't think they're going to gel together this year and become the defense that Falcons fans want them to be, but I think they're good enough if they continue to grow and mature as we've seen these last couple of weeks. I thought they gave up some stuff against Green Bay, obviously, but they looked a lot better tonight against a lesser offense. If you can continue to do the things that you've seen this team and these young guys starting to do and develop, and again, staying healthy is the key to all of this. Got to have these players available in order for them to start growing together and having that continuity. But they can continue to play this way. I think they can be good enough for them to have a chance to compete in this NFC conference, literally. I mean, really do some serious damage. I don't know if they'll be good enough to win a Super Bowl, however, we'll see. All it takes is just to get hot. This defense can get hot. They forced turnovers tonight. That's huge because even if you're not great on defense, if you can force some turnovers with the way that offense scores, look out. Andrew Kim says, Mike Evans one-handed catch better than Beckham's. LOL, nah. Nobody's topping that Beckham catch. He literally caught that football with like 3 fingers, Beckham did. But that Mike Evans catch, and he took a shot. See, Beckham didn't take a shot on that play. There was impact from the ground, and he still held on. Mikey took a shot and still held on to that football. Captain Spartan 4 says, the announcers keep saying Dirk knows this team is young and so he expects some growing pains. Then why did they fire Lovey? Lovey's team was younger. They just felt like Lovey wasn't the right guy. And I had Buccaneers fans tell me the same thing. Lovey needed to go. And I didn't understand why, and I still don't. But okay, you tell me Lovey needed to go, then Lovey needed to go. He's gone. You're still struggling, so we'll figure out who the problem is. Abraham Lopez says, they were holding a ton. Only way to stop Atlanta pass rush. Vic Beasley showed off a mean bull rush tonight. I'd like to see him try to win with some speed around the edge, but he was going after both tackles with that bull rush, and he was having some success. And then I saw him use the spin move and had some success. Got there a little late. Brooks Reed, however, won with his spin move. Jameis Winston made a hell of a play to shovel the football. I don't know how he managed to do that. Eagle Speed is a nerd says, did any team follow the rule of the NFC South? No defense allowed. Right now, the Falcons broke that mold today, but for the most part, it's the Big 12 of the NFL. And no defense allowed in that division. Carolina played some solid defense against Arizona last week. We'll see if, and even, I'll tell you this much, even New Orleans is starting to play better defense. So maybe we might have to drop that tag from them and take that Big 12 moniker away from them. They're starting to play a little bit of defense in that division, believe it or not. Matty Ice is still the 4th QB in the South. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Nick Riley says, my man Matty Ice, most def got to be the MVP so far. I believe that is the case. Jay Moose says, Matty Ice officially back. Yes, indeed. He's been officially back. I christened that man after the Seattle game being back. And so for those of you who haven't been watching, the man is legit. He's playing some football at a very high level. I'd argue with you, this is the highest level he's ever played at in his career. And it'll be a shame if Kyle Shanahan gets the job and they got to get a whole new offensive scheme and they got to learn a whole new playbook. That would really suck because I feel like he's in a comfort zone, man. This guy is seeing the field. He's going through his progressions, and his line is blocking him. When he has time, he's dangerous with those weapons out there on the football field. Abraham Lopez says, Winston out, injury, got nailed by Collins. Ouch. That's not good. That's not good at all. Active Neos says, how injured do you think Winston is after my boy Jalen Collins licked him? I'm not watching the game currently as I'm doing this live feed, so I don't actually know, but that doesn't sound good. Hopefully, Jameis Winston is fine. Abraham Lopez says, Antoine Smith injured, LOL. Damn, F Thursday night games. Man, these Thursday night games are taxing on these players, no doubt about that. DG Production says, how do you feel about Keanu Neal's progress? He's coming along. I'd like to see him wrap up better. There was a hit early in the game with the running back. I want to say it was either Antoine Smith or Peyton Barber, one or the other. But they were kind of picking their way, trying to find a hole. Keanu Neal comes and fills that hole beautifully, knocks the running back like 2 yards backwards, but he still bounces off and gets back to the line of scrimmage. I'd like to see him wrap up a little bit more. We saw Deion Jones miss a huge tackle versus the Chargers, trying to thump somebody and not wrapping up. I'd like to see these big, heavy hitters wrap these guys up. You can nail somebody and wrap up. Cam Chancellor does it all the time, and that's who he's supposed to be emulating in this offense. I need him to wrap guys up, get them on the ground. Bossaholic says, Falcons pass rush really coming together. Yes, that pass rush is starting to come. I'll tell you what, the last couple of games, I've been very impressed with Adrian Claiborne, and we know what Vic Beasley's been doing this season. He's been on a tear of late. You're getting Brooks Reed to participate now. He had a nice pressure on Winston. You can start to get these guys involved all of a sudden now. They're blitzing off the edges now. They're blitzing off the corner. You saw Brian Poole come off the corner and get a deflection. They're starting to get aggressive, and they're starting to become confident in their abilities on the defensive side of the football. Abraham Lopez says, what's your take on Hooper? I love Austin Hooper. I told you that earlier in the season on my rookie wall that I gave him some honorable mention. Austin Hooper is a guy that I liked coming out of Stanford as a guy that could catch the football. I didn't think he blocked as well, but he's actually been blocking pretty solidly in the NFL. I thought he was more of a pass-catching guy because they split him out wide so often. Over 70% of the time, he was split out wide at Stanford. So I expected him to struggle blocking, but that has not been the case. He's actually been a pretty solid blocker in addition to being a really good pass catcher, which I knew he could do coming out of Stanford. Archangel says, rise up forever, baby. I hear that. Nick Riley says, please tell these boys us losing Norv is no big deal, man. Man was doing trash about last or second to last. Nah, I don't agree with you there. Norv is the truth, and he was the best thing that happened to your offense. And look, your offensive line is trash. Don't ask Norv Turner to turn trash into gold. Norv Turner is one of the best at what he does offensively. That's going to sting. And I hope you don't think Pat Shurmur is going to upgrade your offense better than Norv Turner can, because you are sadly mistaken, my friend. That's going to be a big loss, I believe. Maybe you'll get a instant boost and spark from this, but it won't last. It won't be long-term. Norv Turner is a better offensive coordinator than Pat Shurmur. DG Productions, or excuse me, Archangel says, that boy Neal is a straight-up thumper. Yes, he is. That's what they brought him to be. That's what he's been doing thus far. DG Productions says, can you see Kyle Shanahan leaving ATL and why? Yeah, absolutely. But it all depends on what jobs are out there and what offers are put on the table. He's not going to just leave just to leave and say, I'm going to be a head coach. It's got to be the right opportunity. He's got to have the right quarterback and the situation set up, because he needs certain things to be effective as a head coach. He needs a quarterback. He needs an offensive line. And he also would like to have at least one good running back, preferably multiple good running backs. You see what he's doing with these running backs out of the backfield. Wants to throw the football. They want to run the football, want to go play action fake. That's been a staple of Kyle Shanahan's offense. This goes back to Mike Shanahan running the zone read, the stretch, and then going up top. Play action fake. We saw it with Matt Schaub once upon a time in Houston with Arian Foster, and of course the one and only DRE. You have that same replication here. You got two backs instead of just one dominant back. Got two backs. Got a big time quarterback in Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, and then of course you got Julio. Julio Jones out there. So he needs that kind of structure to be successful. If he goes somewhere and they don't have all of those components, I don't know if he'll want to leave necessarily, because he's going to continue to be a hot name and a hot topic for these different organizations. So I don't expect him to leave for just any job when he's a hot commodity right now. Captain Spartan 04 says, Roberto was automatico today. Yes, and it's good to see him. I want him to start gaining confidence. And if that happens on just extra points, fine, so be it. But he needs to continue to make kicks, whether they're extra points, field goals, what may have you. He just needs to continue to gain confidence. Archangel says, proud of my defense. They out there hitting, making wide receivers have second thoughts. That's what you want to do. You want to intimidate without picking up penalties. And that's what you want to do. And that hit on Mike Evans, I thought they were going to throw the flag. It was actually a really clean hit. That's what you want to do. You want to blast dudes, but don't do it outside the framework of the rules. Don't pick up penalties, because those hurt your team, don't help. And so these guys out there hitting without picking penalties up, that's a good thing. Archangel says, ass whoopers, ass whoopee, cushion, LML. Bro, you are hilarious. I try to be, man, but that's basically what this was. Ass whoopers versus ass whoopies. The ass whoopers got their ass toe up tonight. Ass whoopies, ass whoopers dished out a hell of an ass whooping. And I was once told by a wise man that these type of ass whoopers are good old-fashioned, passionate ass whoopers, getting your shoes, coat, and your hat tooken. And that's what happened to the Buccaneers tonight, man. Good old-fashioned, passionate ass whooping handed out by the Atlanta Falcons. And they went ahead and said, hey, let me get those shoes, coat, and let me go ahead and take your hat as well while I'm at it. Get your shoes, coat, and your hat tooken from you. That's the type of ass whooping it was tonight. DG Production says, when we make the playoffs, how far can we go? Depends on matchups. Styles make fights, okay? You might see Seattle again in the playoffs. You might be able to beat those boys, but they play defense, so you never know what's going to transpire. Styles make fights. Just depends on who you're playing. Again, you want to get the best record you can possibly get so that all roads come through Atlanta. You don't want to have to go on the road. You don't want to have to go to Seattle again. You don't have to do all of those things. Don't have to go to Lambeau or none of that stuff, Minnesota, none of that. Have all the roads come through Atlanta if at all possible. Just keep stacking wins up like bricks, and then we'll figure out the rest later on in the season when it's all said and done. But the defense is going to determine how far you go, because we know this offense can score with the best of them. If the defense can come together, force some turnovers, get some stops, and get the football back to that explosive offense, you're going to be in really good shape come the end of the season. Bossaholic says, Thursday Night Football needs to stop. Really dangerous for players. I really don't like Thursday Night Football's format. I really think that the teams coming off of bye weeks should be the ones playing on Thursday Night Football. They shouldn't be two teams that just played 4 days ago playing again on Thursday. These guys aren't healthy. They're not into their regular regimen. I think if you're going to have Thursday night games, that's fine. You need to have two teams coming off a bye. So you can have a opening week one, Thursday night game to kick off the season like you always do with the Super Bowl champion. And then after that, you don't have a Thursday night game for the next 2 weeks because no one has a bye in the first 3 weeks of the season. Then week 4, you can start having byes, then week 5, I think the first byes take place after week 4. Then you can have your first real, true Thursday night football game to kick off all of the Thursday night games for the remainder of the season. And then once the byes stop in like week 12, then you stop Thursday night football and you just go straight back. And then, they start implementing Saturday games at the end of the season because college football stops, so they get to play on Saturdays. Then you can start doing that. But I'm not a fan of these teams playing a couple days later. I just don't like that. Mind Draw says, do you see Atlanta keeping their high level for the rest of the season, or are they taking their foot off the pedal? They're going to be fine. They learned their lesson from last year. Last year was a necessary evil. It taught them that we can't let up. We got to keep playing good football for all 16 games of the season. We can't start out hot and then take our foot off the gas pedal like you said. Captain Spartan 04 says, not looking forward to next Thursday. Now, I'm not either. That is such trash. I mean, really, are we seriously doing this? I mean, worst case scenario, are we doing this? I just don't get it. I do not get it. But that being said, those are all the comments I see tonight. And so I'm going to wrap this thing up, man. I appreciate you guys joining me for this beatdown. Falcons taking care of business, beating down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was 40-14 last time I checked. Let me give you a score update real quick. Maybe the game's over. Maybe it's not. Don't really care. But I will say that this was pure dominance, especially in the second half by this Falcons football team. And the Buccaneers got a long way to go, so this doesn't surprise me at all. 43-28 was your final score in this game. Falcons get it done. beat up, and the final score doesn't really indicate how lopsided this game really was. 40-14 at one point in this game. Falcons go to 6-3, take a 3-game commanding lead over everyone in that division. We'll see what New Orleans does in their play as well as Carolina, but Carolina still can't close the gap as they are still 2-5 at this point on the season. Saints could, however, get back to 500 at 4-4 with a victory and make it a little interesting in this division. But Falcons have already went to New Orleans and won, so they have that edge over them as well. So we'll see what happens in any event. Got a couple more comments, and then we'll get out of here. DG Production says, how do you feel about the way we close this league compared to the Seattle and Chargers games? You're starting to gain that killer instinct, but again, this is not – these teams aren't San Diego and or Seattle. Those teams don't have Russell Wilson and Phillip Rivers. Those teams aren't as good at the quarterback position. Jameis Winston's still figuring some things out, and they don't have the type of talent that those teams have. So I expected you to do this. But again, it's a learning thing that you have to go through. You lost that game. You have to learn how to close. You closed against Green Bay last week. You closed the show this week. It's a learned behavior. Winning close games and closing teams out when you're up big, learned behavior. The Panthers still haven't figured that out. Remember last year they had a bunch of blown leads. They would find a way to win at the end, but they would blow leads. That's what teams have to do. They have to learn how to do that. Once you learn it, it's something that you can carry with you for the remainder of the season. Abraham Lopez says, Gabriel, a stud, came in off our waiver and took snaps from Hardy. I never thought the Cleveland Browns should have let Taylor Gabriel go. He was making plays out there in Cleveland a couple years ago, and for some inexplicable reason, they cut him loose, and now he's out there balling for the Atlanta Falcons. And so, Jim Hoover says, Denver or Oakland on Sunday night. I gave you my picks. Go watch my Louie Tee live video. I have all of my different segments time-stamped. If you want to know who I picked, go watch that video. So that's going to do it for me here on Thursday Night Football Overtime. Buccaneers get trounced at the crib, 43-28 by the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons go to 6-3, commanding stranglehold on the NFC South division. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drop to 3-5 on the season, and they're searching for answers. They need to start finding a way to win at home. They haven't really been able to do that this season. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room on Louie Tee Network, Thursday Night Football Overtime. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I will see you guys a little bit later on down the road. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your night. Got some basketball on. OKC Warriors, go check that out. Have a good one.
Broncos won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning retired. 49ers won 5 games and Tom Sula got fired. RG's in Cleveland and my Rams hit the West Coast. Be sleepless in Seattle cause that 12-man ain't beast mode. Oh yeah, I knew it was something I forgot to mention. Yeah, old Tom Brady about to get that suspension. Yeah, I know the Pats fans probably think that's whack. Yeah, but at the end of the day, your balls was flat. It's that time again.